Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Anatol Gremalschi. I was asked to write a study about the Republic of Moldova, and which is proposed to your attention. Some other stuff with the airplane. We need to acknowledge that in our education system we have problems, and these problems could be identified either from within the system by the teachers, by the administration, which start from the professionalism, from the professional ethics of the teaching staff, and issues that could be identified from outside the educational system. So to call it the real life. And this study has been attempting to put together all these aspects, what's seen from the inside and what's seen from the outside. First of all, we've all been firmly convinced that we have a very good educational system. However, short background shows that it's actually not like that, and you can see here the regulatory documents that have been approved and how many times they have been amended. The key question, why have they been amended so many times? What has happened? Have they been poorly written at the beginning, or we've just tried to conserve an outdated system to which afterwards we have started to apply some improvements? We have identified several issues in education, and when we speak about issues, we have two dimensions. First dimension is the proofs. They are statistical facts. Usually. Second dimension is the public perception. Public perception, we all know that in general this is a subjective one, and it depends on the expectations of respondents. From this point of view, I would like to inform you that education is one of the few areas where the population in general is satisfied of. If we speak about the dwelling, about jobs, about salaries, where the level of satisfaction is dozens of percent. In the terms of education, it's over 60% satisfaction. But anyway, we still do have problems. The main problem when I speak about an education system, what's the quality criterion? When does such a system considered? When is such a system considered good? When students have good marks, when parents are happy, when teaching staff are happy. Yes. But, however, the main criterion is the following. Graduates of this education system, how do they succeed in life? Are they able to gain their money for living? Are they satisfied to go to job, and are they satisfied to get back home to the families? And the analysis of the labor market shows that in the past almost 10 years, the correspondence of the occupation with the area of preparation is weak. So the education system produces specialists with the specialty of which doesn't help them with nothing. Where they work is they don't demand their specialty. So this is a factor and proof. What says the public perception? The survey about which my colleague has told you. Do you agree with the statement that the degrees today have no value? 47%, almost 47% of the students say that they agree with that, and the parents of the school students, 72% say yes. Of course, in the heads of the respondents, something is confused, because if there is no value, then why do everyone goes to the university? But this is public perception. Now about the efficiency of the system. Can you imagine you have a child in the high school, he studies well, but he cannot pass the baccalaureate. Can we say that the educational system is an efficient one? No. It was sufficient to install the cameras, and the rate for students passing the baccalaureate has collapsed. If we had a simplistic approach, a high school, the graduates of which have not passed the baccalaureate, all of them, because we used to have such high schools, do they have the right to get money from the state? Because they don't produce anything, actually. No graduate has received money. What do parents say about that? In order to get good marks, does a child need meditation hours, individual hours? Does this mean 66% of them said yes, and so what does this mean? That it's not enough what they study at school? The private education is better than the state education. Almost 31% started to choose a private education for the children. My colleague spoke about the foreign education. Parents and students would vote for that. And can you imagine that we join the EU? The salaries are the same. And you can study wherever you want, not necessarily in Chisinau. What happens then with these children? Where do they go to study then? Therefore, we have problems. The inefficiency. The state spends money, more money for a high school. Does it mean a higher grade? Does it mean a better promotion rate? Here on the horizontal you can see the expenses per student in lei. On the vertical, the rate of promotion of exams. We have high schools where in 2014 the rate for promotion of exams was 0, and for one student the state has paid 20,000 Moldovan lei. This is a problem in the system. Is this a problem in the system? We think yes. We have tried to identify the reasons and to, of course, we have proofs, not subjective approaches. First of all, the curriculum is imperfect. Second, the network of educational institutions is disproportional. In a TV show, I was asked if we close a high school in a village with 10 students, we limit the access of students to high school education. We've actually limited access to higher education as well, because we don't have universities in villages, right? So the educational system or the educational institutions existing in the settlement should correspond to the existing population there, to the qualified teaching staff and managerial staff. And I would like to make a comparison here. Let's analyze the living cycle of educational system. For instance, so we graduated high school, we graduated afterwards higher education. Then I go to work as a teacher. How will I be able to teach school students? Let's analyze the life cycle of higher education teacher. So, for instance, I will teach some students at the university. What's the share of university teachers that have experience of work in real economics? Let's take a business chair and you'll see how many teachers teach business and how many of them actually did actual business outside of the university. Let's take a transportation department at the university and look at how many of them worked in transportation enterprises, and how many of them teach transportation courses. So when we speak about qualified staff, we speak about professional experience. We speak about knowing the real areas of the economy. About the technical equipment, we won't even speak, because you will never find experimental equipment, no laboratories. So how does it happen? So we need to improve the equipment. Self-isolation of the system, I will leave that for later, and non-involvement of parents in the life of schools. So probably you've looked in the study and saw who is guilty of the fact that the students have not passed their baccalaureate. Now, about the curriculum. A lot has been spoken about that. You see here the opinions of parents. Everyone is dissatisfied, 70%, 60%. A very bad factor here is that we are losing the industry. We don't have enterprises, therefore there is no need for knowledge. They are just not needed. And of course, that everyone considers that the curriculum is too loaded. In order for a person to work in the central market, of course, you don't need organic chemistry or programming courses. And we have the public perception. I'm sure that our decision makers, when they meet with the citizens, they always listen to that. That's too complicated, too hard to study, because there is no need, actually. Now, in terms of the teaching staff and managerial staff, I mentioned a word about self-isolation of the system. You see how much revolt there was when, in front of the ministry, we had people who didn't have didactical education, and the fact that the directors of schools don't have pedagogical studies. At the left, you have graph of the didactic level of the director and the promotion rate of the baccalaureate. The higher the didactical grade, the promotion rate, does that increase or not? And on the right, you can see the managerial levels. In the case of the managerial level for the director, it matters. Therefore, the educational system has to be open. Who leads the universities today? The Council for Strategic Administration. How many people are out of these councils are from the communities, from the enterprises? That means the self-isolation of the system. We have a rupture between education, which lives according to its own rules, and real life. Can you show me a university or a high school where the salaries of the teaching staff depends on the number of graduates that work according to their specialization or the rate of passing the baccalaureate? For instance, I think we have 3,000 teachers a year. How many of them go to teach in education? Why do we produce teaching staff then? These are problems that need to be settled. I was telling you about the involvement of parents. Do you think parents are to be blamed? I'm not sure if that's correct. That their child has not passed the baccalaureate? No. Only 2% of the parents said that they also have to be blamed for that. But if you ask a parent how many times they visited the school and how many times they've discussed with their child, and how many times they ask their child how things are going at school. So they can blame that on the Ministry of Education, on the teachers, on the difficult subjects, on the students, but not the parents. That means rupture between education and society, that parents do not get involved. And this is very important for them to get involved. Now, in terms of corruption, we've spoken about that. I will probably say banal things, but the education reflects the real situation in the society. Of course, it doesn't depend on the ministry or on the teachers, the settlement of this phenomenon. But the opinions, the quasi-general opinion on the half of the sample is that corruption in general is a good thing. And this is how we discourage those who study, who learn. Are we predisposed to get away from the morality, to deviate from the morality? Look at this, 23% of the parents, if we speak about an important exam, they are ready to pay for that, to pay bribes. 23%, is that much or less? So in the society, we need to have the culture of knowledge. There needs to be a need for knowledge, and only then parents won't have this willingness to pay. Education has problems. What are the effects of that?
So the first one, the worst, we, the students, the children, our children, they do not valorify, they do not give full value to what they learn. Some of them are more talented in sports, some of them are talented in other things, but the problem is they could not open. His talent is not given value. This is why I think they vote with their legs, not with their brains. Speak with graduates from Chisinau. I am sure that more than half see as their dream to have studies abroad. Why? Because he can't see his value here in this country. The system is encouraging mystification. So it means if you open in a small lyceum in a village, and you put the children there to learn different private things, like in a private institution, what happens? The difference between the mark given at the baccalaureate and in the school is approximately 3 points. If, for example, that person had the mark 5 at the baccalaureate, in the school he had 8, the mark 8. So this is how the system is encouraging the mystification. The second thing, the third thing is that it is not, our educational system is not an attractive, a motivational one. And the last thing, the competencies of the graduates of the institutions do not correspond to the expectations of the employees. If to speak about the development of the business in the Republic of Moldova, the majority of the bosses say we don't have good specialists. And I used to always give this example. The Academy of Informatics was opened. The idea, so business people opened that institution. The idea was to produce specialists in IT for the companies. And my question is, why the universities do not produce those experts, those specialists? Why the colleges, the schools do not produce? Why they needed to open this academy? It is a private initiative, but why this initiative exists in our society? Because the competences that we are giving, including me as a professor, university professor, do not correspond to the expectations of the employers. And the last diagram, I called it the intoxication of the system with reform. So I put here the word changed, not intoxication, but I wanted to write this word. People, we have to be aware of what we are doing. Every year we speak about reforms, changes, and so on. So as follows, this word, the reform, it starts to have a very negative connotation. The public do not accept this word anymore with a positive connotation. So we have to think about these effects. What do we propose in order to improve the situation? First of all, the education should be guided not by the offer, but by the request. If we speak about this in a simple way, I have to teach not what I like to teach or what I know from my previous years, but I have to teach what the pupils and students need. The educational institutions must be autonomous, but this autonomy has to be with high responsibilities. The universities are autonomous, but what is the mechanism of making them more responsible? For example, my faculty prepares 300 specialists per year. After they go to work in 1 year, they work on the special, only 30 of them work on their specialty. So in this context, what is the responsibility of the educational institution that those people graduate? We speak also about pupils. When the pupils go to have this baccalaureate exam, they do not pass it. And in this context, what is the responsibility of institution they graduated? Second thing is financing according to the performance. Let's speak about the salary of the directors. If we mention it like, if we do it like that, we finance according to the performance, and the salary of the director will be according to the performance of the pupils at the baccalaureate. I think nobody will like this kind of financing. If to speak about the salaries of the teachers, we have to take into consideration that the teachers are receiving the same salaries, but some of the pupils taught by some teachers, they take the baccalaureate exam, and some of them do not take. So where is the balance here? If to speak about the internal evaluations, I think they should not serve as certification. Of course, we have to have external certification, and it's good that we have the baccalaureate, because if to take the marks on the primary school, general school, of course, everyone has good marks usually, but higher you go, less marks you have, and in the same time, people are always complaining that the curricula is very sophisticated. So, but how is it sophisticated if the marks are still good in the general school? This is why this needs to be evaluated. Why the school, the university, the college gives qualifications without external factors? This is another question. So I teach him 1 month or 1 year or 2 years to be a constructor, and I give him a certificate after everything that I taught him. But should I be the person who gives the certificate, taking into account the time, the one who taught him? Let's speak about the driving school. Who is giving the license after you take the exam? The police department. So if to speak about in academical terms, any evaluation is credible and can be a final decision only when it is impartial, objective, relevant, transparent. So I mean an external one. Thank you very much for your attention. This was it.